Attention passionate Montreal, Canadiens fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the Atlantic Division and it could shake up the entire conference. We're talking about a direct impact on Montreal Canadiens' path to another Stanley Cup run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Montreal Canadiens fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your FRINDS and Montreal, CANADINS FANS. Let's get to the news. Now, folks, we have some explosive rumors and proposals floating around that could potentially change the landscape of the Canadiens roster and their ambitions for the upcoming season. It involves a bold trade suggestion that's been making waves across the NHL community, and it centers around Jonathan Huberdeau, one of the most talented forwards in the league, who's currently with the Calgary Flames. But before we dive into that, let's contextualize where Montreal is right now, what the team has been doing in the offseason, and what fans should realistically expect from the squad in 2025-26. The Canadiens, after a couple of rebuilding years, finally look to be on the cusp of something promising. General manager Kent Hughes has been quite active, making strategic moves to bolster his roster, especially on the defensive side with the acquisitions of Noah Dobson and Zachary Bolduc, two young talents who could play pivotal roles in the team's future. But fans know that hockey is an ever-evolving game, and there's always room for more upgrades, especially at the forward position, where the team's depth and scoring ability are still being fine-tuned. And here's where rumors come into play. The idea of bringing in a player like Huberdeau has been floated around, and it's not just speculation. There's a trade proposal that could be on the table, or at least worth considering. The proposal, as suggested by journalist Cole Shelton, who's well-respected in the hockey rumor mill and works for Heavy and CBS Sports, is quite bold. It involves the Montreal Canadiens sending Jonathan Huberdeau to the Calgary Flames in exchange for a package that includes Josh Anderson, Arber Xhekaj, Owen Beck, and a 2026 second-round pick. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. This is a pretty significant package to give up for a single player, even one with Huberdeau's talent. But let's analyze the details because there's a lot to unpack here. First, Huberdeau's recent performance. After an eye-popping 115-point season with the Florida Panthers in 2021-22, many fans and analysts expected him to be a consistent point-per-game player for years to come. But his tenure with the Flames has been a bit of a roller coaster. The last 3 seasons haven't quite lived up to that high standard, with point totals that have been somewhat disappointing, especially considering the big contract he inked with Calgary. Still, last season, he managed to score 28 goals, which is notable because it's his second-best goal total in his entire career. It suggests there's still a lot of offensive potential in him, and a change of scenery, returning to a team like Montreal with its passionate fanbase and perhaps better fit with the system, could reignite his offensive touch. However, let's not ignore the elephant in the room, Huberdeau's contract. He's owed $5 million annually through 2031, which is a hefty commitment for any team. That's a significant cap hit, and it's a factor that teams and fans alike need to consider. But here's where this proposed trade gets interesting from the Canadiens' perspective. By including Josh Anderson in the deal, Kent Hughes could also be managing to offload Anderson's remaining 2 years on his contract, which carries a cap hit of around $5 million. Anderson is a player who's known for his physicality and scoring ability on the forecheck, but his inconsistency and injury history have been points of concern. Moving him could help Montreal free up some cap space and reset their roster for future moves. Now, Arber Xhekaj and Owen Beck are younger players, with Xhekaj quickly establishing himself as a gritty, hard-nosed defenseman who can hit and block shots with reckless abandon. His style of play fits perfectly with the Canadiens' identity: tough, relentless, and committed. Owen Beck, on the other hand, is a promising young forward, still developing but showing flashes of high-end skill and hockey sense. His inclusion in the trade makes sense because Montreal is still in a rebuilding phase and wants to develop its young core. The 2026 second-round pick adds future value and is a typical piece in these types of deals, giving the Canadiens some flexibility down the line. So, what does this all mean? Well, hypothetically, if this trade were to happen, it could give Montreal a much-needed offensive boost. Huberdeau, with his playmaking skills and scoring ability, could be a key piece in the Canadiens' attack, providing leadership and experience on a team that's still trying to find its identity. His presence could help younger players like Owen Beck develop faster, giving the team a more potent and dangerous offense. Additionally, the trade could help Montreal manage their cap situation more effectively, freeing up some space to pursue other upgrades or to extend key players down the line. But of course, there are skeptics. The price is high, and the risk of taking on Huberdeau's contract is real. His recent performance has been inconsistent, and some might argue that giving up Anderson, ex-Hekaj Beck, plus a future pick is too steep for a player who might still take time to reach his full potential again. Plus, the chemistry and locker room dynamics are always factors in these big trades, and bringing in a high-profile player like Huberdeau requires careful integration. Now, translating this scenario into the reality of the Canadiens' current roster, it's clear that Hughes is looking for ways to push the team forward, especially on offense. The addition of Noah Dobson has already added stability on the blue line, but the team still needs that extra punch to be a real playoff contender. Whether this specific trade will happen or not remains to be seen, but it highlights the kind of aggressive thinking that could define the Canadiens' strategy moving forward. They're not just waiting around, they're actively exploring bold moves to accelerate their rebuild and put themselves in contention sooner rather than later. And speaking of the upcoming season, fans will be watching closely to see how the team's new pieces gel together, how young prospects like Beck develop, and whether the team's leadership can find a way to translate their off-season improvements into wins on the ice. We all know that hockey is a game of momentum and confidence, and a single trade or signing can sometimes be the spark that ignites a team's journey toward the playoffs. Pause here just for a second. If you want the YouTube algorithm to keep recommending the latest Montreal Canadiens news to you, it's super important that you leave a like on this video. Go ahead, it's quick and it makes a big difference. Thank you. Now let us continue with the big reveal. As fans, it's natural to get excited about these rumors, but it's also essential to keep a level head. The NHL trade deadline is still months away, and a lot can change between now and then. However, the mere possibility of a deal like this reminds us that the Canadiens are not just waiting around, they're actively trying to build a team that can compete and contend in the very near future. The core is taking shape, and with the right moves, Montreal could surprise a lot of people. And let's not forget, the Atlantic Division is becoming more competitive every year. Teams like Tampa Bay, Toronto, and Boston are always in the mix, but the Canadiens are quietly positioning themselves to be serious contenders once again. The addition of a player like Huberdeau, if it materializes, could be the kind of game-changer that shifts the dynamics of the conference. It could put Montreal right back into the conversation among the league's elite, especially if they also develop some of their younger talent and find the right chemistry on the ice. This kind of strategic thinking, combined with the passion and resilience of the Canadiens roster, is what makes following this team so exciting. Fans know that the team's history is rich with moments of resilience, underdog stories, and unforgettable playoff runs. The 2025-26 season could very well be another chapter in that storied history, especially if the front office makes the right decisions in the coming months. The potential of adding a player like Huberdeau isn't just about individual talent, it's about what that talent can inspire in a team that's hungry to return to greatness. And now, Montreal Canadiens fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this? Would you support such a bold move if it meant bringing in a player like Huberdeau and shaking up the roster? Do you think it's worth the risk? Or would you prefer to see the team focus on developing the young prospects and sticking to a more conservative rebuild? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the future of the Canadiens. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Montreal Canadiens news, rumors, and analysis. We're in this together, and the best is yet to come for our beloved team. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Canadiens!